Oh, hello there, everyone. This is the George here. Almost forgot to share myself in there, and thank you, CJH, for sharing the stream and for tuning in. So, this is the next episode of Common Sense and Pulp Culture, where we're going to be talking about Mandalorian's box office and Toy Story 5, because some stuff about Toy Story 5 has come up, and it's one of the most anticipated movies this summer, and it's coming out in a few weeks. Now, before I continue, I just want to give a heads up that while I will be doing Common Sense and Pop Culture the next 2 weekends, after that, there's going to be a couple weekends I'm going to be away. So there's not going to be any streams. Maybe some reviews if I can get to see Toy Story 5 and Supergirl around that time. But likely, like the next two episodes will be the last until probably January. But that's okay. There's going to be plenty of reviews coming because there's a lot of movies coming out this summer. So the reviews will be coming back as well. And let's get started because we're going to be talking about Mandalorian and the rocky box office that seems to have, and the surprise victories coming from a couple of movies. And then what to expect with Toy Story 5. And by the way, if you're an NBA fan, we've got Spurs versus Knicks this week. I'm rooting for the Knicks, but I'm not going to underestimate the San Antonio Spurs. But let's talk about Mandalorian Grogu. So I saw it last weekend. I did a review and a spoiler filled review. CJH was on with me talking about spoilers about the movie. Thanks again, CJH, for coming by. And we overall enjoyed it, but it could have been more. It just felt like a play it safe movie that ultimately could have just been 4 episodes of a season 4 Mandalorian. No big stakes. It's nothing big or fancy. Even Solo, a Star Wars story, felt more like an event. Yeah, we're gonna talk more about that, Red. And yeah, your Sonics will beat the Knicks when the Sonics come back in like 2028 or so, or in the 2030s. Because technically speaking, the Thunder are the Seattle Supersonics, and they just lost to the Spurs. So, all right. So, the big talk with Mandalorian's box office has been that Mandalorian has not only made not a lot of money, but in its second weekend, it's lost to, as Red mentioned here, some smaller budget horror movies. Now, these aren't bad horror movies. I mean, I haven't seen them yet, but I've heard some positive stuff about them. They've been getting some really good reviews. Yep, that's true, CJH. But these are horror movies that have been getting very good reviews. I would say, because I like horror, 2020s have been pretty good for horror. I know last year we had Weapons, we had Sinners. Those were like two of my favorite movies of last year. I love those movies. And it just feels like the 2020s has been very good to horror. I feel like the 2010s, at least the beginning part of the 2010s and like late 2000s, horror was not in a good spot. There was a lot of remakes, a lot of not good original ideas. But it seems lately horror has stepped it up. And I haven't seen Obsession or Backrooms yet. I want to see Obsession. I'm going to try to see it Thursday. I have time off Thursday. Hopefully, it'll be playing in my theater. And I can maybe do a review on that and share my thoughts on that because it looks really good. I'm hearing a lot of great stuff about it. I don't know if I'm going to get to Backrooms yet because there's also some other movies I want to check out that are coming out. I definitely want to check out Masters of the Universe. I know it's crazy. I want to see Obsession Blinded. I know you said you saw it. I think you said it wasn't anything special, but it was worth checking out. I'm gonna try to check it out this weekend or this Thursday because I do want to see either Masters of the Universe or Scary Movie 6 this weekend because Disclosure Day is the following weekend. I want to see Disclosure Day because I want to see some of these movies before I go away. I don't think I'll get to all of them. Well, 3 out of 5. Okay, so it's just an okay movie for Backrooms. Okay. Red, I don't think you've processed last night's loss. Last night's loss. The Seattle Supersonic Oklahoma City Thunders lost in 7 games to Wembanyama and the Spurs. Hey, hey, hey. But I do have articles that bring up this whole thing, this whole loss of the box office. So according to Variety, Backroom stuns with $81 million depth. Obsession has another unprecedented jump, and Mandalorian Grogu suffered a 70% drop. So for those that are like cinephiles or like just into all kinds of movies, this is interesting because on one hand, smaller scale horror movies that are well received, that audiences seem to like, that are like, hey, I'm hearing good stuff about this movie. I want to check it out. This is a victory because original movies deserve more attention. There were some really good original stuff last year with Sinners, Weapons, F1, great stuff. Original movies need more attention. Original movies need to do better. At the same time, as someone that loves Star Wars, that wants Star Wars to come back on the big screen and see good Star Wars, it's disappointing because you want good movies, you want good franchise movies, you want franchises to do well, especially franchises you enjoy. But if they're just not delivering, do they deserve to be rewarded? I mean, Rise of Skywalker, in my opinion, is one of the worst $1 billion movies to come out. Jurassic World Dominion, which came out in 2022, probably the worst movie to make $1 billion. I think that movie's even worse than Transformers Age of Extinction, because at least that movie was hilariously bad. That was one of the worst $1 billion movies ever. So it's like, I don't want to reward bad movies either. What's going on in the chat? Red, oh my, you're into crazy chicks yourself. Hey, props to you, Red. Oh gosh. I mean, you know, that could have worked. I mean, here's the thing: when they released Revenge of the Sith last year, it wasn't on Star Wars Day, but I think it was the weekend before Star Wars Day. Oh my gosh, Red. CJH, that's Red for you. That's Red's style. He makes the chat interesting. He really does. But back to this. So that's 70% drop. This is like, it's kind of like the similar drop that Batman versus Superman suffered a decade ago. Now, the difference is Batman versus Superman, despite having a big drop, did have a big opening weekend. And it managed to, even though it didn't make $1 billion, it made over $800 million worldwide. Blinded, oh, YouTube. Yeah, it's good to see YouTubers making movies, making good movies. All right, that's fair enough. That's a good criticism. Yeah, I think I'm gonna see Obsessions over Backrooms. Backrooms is gonna be the one that I'm gonna have to skip out on, just because there's other movies I want to see as well before I go away, and I just have limited time. Oh boy. So it's one for the history books. So Gen Z crowds showing up for two buzzy horror movies. A24's Backroom. A24 makes some really good movies. Some very good original indie stuff. Collected a jaw-dropping, record-breaking $81 million from 3,442 North American theaters in its opening weekend. That says ticket sales for the Focus Features breakout Obsession jump again in its third frame with $26.4 million from 2,781 cinemas and crossed the $100 million mark domestically. That's domestically. They're directed by YouTube stars and cost nearly nothing to produce, upending conventional wisdom about the necessary components for a hit. Okay, I want to say this because Backroom will have big drop next weekend because the ending pissed off a lot of people in my theater. Well, I mean, also, this weekend does have Scary Movie 6 and Masters of the Universe coming out. I don't know how well those are going to be received. Particularly Scary Movie, because the Scary Movie movies aren't usually well received. But I also know it's the one the Wayman brothers are coming back for. So we'll see, like, if that fan base shows up or, like, horror movie fans show up for that one. I guess depending on how well received Masters of the Universe is, that could also affect the box office. Yeah, YouTubers making movies is good for us for sure. LOL. And by the way, Blinded, you saw both. Tell me, are they at least better than Chris Stuckman's movie? Are they better than Shelby Oaks? If you're still in the chat, I'm looking forward to it. It's looking good. But yeah, my question is to you, Blinded. Are these movies at least better than Shelby Oaks? Like, are these do these YouTubers make better movies than Chris Stuckman did? I want to know if that for sure. Because I remember Shelby Oaks was so hyped up last year. Oh, thank goodness. Okay. Because I saw Shelby Oaks in the theaters and I did a review on it. You can check it out. But Shelby Oaks, like, the beginning part of it was interesting, but it just really fell flat. One of the actors that Stuckman cast looked like him, and I don't know. Maybe next time he can do better. Maybe if he got someone else to do the screenplay, but it was not that good. Shelby Oaks. They just aren't great horror movies. Okay, that's fair enough. PewDiePie just made his own AI that's actually better than the corporate AI. YouTubers creating things that are actually better is good. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, listen, all these big YouTubers, you gotta get something out of it. Better than Critical Alcoholics movie. Oh man, I know who you're talking about, Red. Okay, so analyst Jeff Bach of Exhibitor Relations says this should empower the industry. There's a new audience, and they're waiting for this kind of content. We knew indie horror was hot, but we just didn't know how hot. It's actually competing with the big summer blockbusters. Listen, good horror, good, well received indie horror will do well. There's proof of it last year when, even though they're different kinds of horrors, Sinners and Weapons did pretty well at the box office. Weapons was a big surprising hit, and that came out at the end of the summer in August when usually a lot of movies don't do that well. We're at the beginning of the summer right now. This is like the end of May, beginning of June. And that this is a good plus because we're gonna get Toy Story 5, which I'm gonna talk about later. The Odyssey, Spider-Man Brand New Day. Even though I'm not planning on seeing it, it's probably still gonna make money. Moana, that's what I'm referring to. We'll probably make a bunch of money, the live action Moana. But anyways, the original fare ruling is especially striking at the start of summer movie season, a period that's usually dominated by major franchises. So usually, I would say beginning of May is when the summer blockbuster movie season unofficially begins. Most people assume that's when it begins. Usually a Marvel movie dominates the beginning of May. This year it was like Devil Wears Prada 2, which actually did pretty well at the box office, but I didn't see it. Yep. Disney Star Wars spinoff The Mandalorian Grogu suffered a catastrophic 70% drop in its second weekend, signaling the property isn't catering beyond an aging group of core fans. Despite playing on far more screens, The Mandalorian Grogu landed in third place on weekends charts behind Backrooms and Obsessions. So yeah, that's startling. Now let's check the chat. Moist Critical has a couple of movies, I think. Oh, he has a comic. He's got a cameo in Bond game. Yeah, Weapons was one of my favorite movies of last year. All right. Back shots. I'm glad Backrooms is doing better than Star Wars, though. Star Wars brands cook beyond belief, and Dave Filoni doesn't understand. So here's the thing to understand with Star Wars. Star Wars, under the Disney brand, has made a lot of mistakes. From what Kathleen Kennedy had done, how she approached the movies, to the fallouts with directors, to just overdoing it on Disney Plus, where people are burnt out of the franchise and them thinking that this kind of movie, which again, I'll continue to say, it felt like 4 episodes of the show that it's based on, as the first movie to come out since Rise of Skywalker, almost 7 years, is the best way to go about it. It was not. Now, and the thing is, everyone assumes that the only people that dislike Disney Star Wars are the Phantom Menace, the anti-SJW crowd, those that like to say everything's woke and complain about identity politics and all that. Like, at this point, it's not just them. It's a lot of fans. It doesn't matter what they believe in. It doesn't matter what they think. They could have loved Last Jedi, still love Last Jedi, but now they're just burnt out because they didn't like Rise of Skywalker. They didn't like Book of Boba Fett in Season 3 of Mandalorian. They didn't like Obi-Wan Kenobi or Acolyte. They're burnt out of it. They didn't like Mandalorian Grogu. That's the thing to understand. It's not just, the usual suspects on YouTube and Twitter. It's a lot of fans. It's a lot of fans that are not impressed with this movie, that are not impressed with the direction that Star Wars has gone. That I think just overall are burnt out, that were disappointed in this movie, that think it's damaged beyond belief. And here's the thing. I don't think it's one age group of people. I think it's many groups of people. For the old crowd, like, here's the thing. There is still that old crowd that, to them, the only Star Wars is the original trilogy. It's not just Disney Star Wars they dislike. They dislike the prequels. They dislike the Clone Wars show. It's those fans. And you got the fans that just think they need the 6 movies, including the prequels. They don't like anything from Disney Star Wars. They may not even like Clone Wars. Then you've got some fans that, also love the Clone Wars. They might have liked Force Awakens and Rogue One, but they don't like anything else. They might like Mandalorian the first 2 seasons, but they don't like anything else. It's a bunch of fans. It doesn't matter what they like. There's probably fans that like Rise of Skywalker that just don't like what is happening with the Disney shows, that are burnt out, that didn't like this movie. And I know the audience score was an A-, which, you know what? I'm not saying a lot of people dislike this movie, but for people that are just like, it's okay, it's something special, there's a lot of people that feel that way. And I think the reality is that Lucasfilm needs to stop saying, oh, it's just the people that hate it because of politics. No, it's a lot of people. They don't even need to be from the United States. They can be from Canada, Mexico, Europe, Australia, Japan. Doesn't matter where. Star Wars is not in a good spot. Yeah, a Mando movie 4 years ago would have been huge. Here's the thing. If you had made a Mando movie after Season 2, before Book of Boba Fett, or maybe you started Mandalorian off with a big movie, or maybe not a big movie, but just like a movie, and it felt fresh and unique, it would have been huge, because when Mandalorian came out, the first two seasons, it was fresh, it was unique, it was nice to see. And the thing is, yeah, the Baby Yoda gimmick. The thing is, Baby Yoda, as cute as he is, I love Baby Yoda. He never developed. Like, here's the thing: at least Baby Groot developed. Like, Baby Groot was just a thing that lasted, and he developed. Groot developed. He developed into a teenager, then a big muscle alien. So the thing is, it feels like Star Wars is in a weird spot where they're scared of taking risks. If we didn't see Mando after season 2 for years, then this movie would have been better, but the story didn't sound compelling. Yeah, I agree. The thing is, the timing, I think, plays a role. Or it's like if they had just done a movie that's focused on Mando and Grogu reuniting after season 2 instead of doing that in Book of Boba Fett, I think it could have done better. Or it could have been a better movie. But back to what I'm saying, it feels like Disney is scared of taking risks. Disney Star Wars. It feels like ever since Last Jedi, when they got a lot of flack for taking risks, trying to change up the formula, they're just scared to. And I mean, I'll say I think the first two seasons of Mandalorian in its change of tone and style was doing the risks, but besides that, nothing else is really doing that. Like even Rise of Skywalker spent a good chunk of its time undoing Last Jedi or trying to like counter what Last Jedi had done, whether people like it or not, instead of telling its story. Because here's the thing, I did an article for the Movie Nerds about what the original episode 9, like Colin Trevorrow's, and I'm not saying what Colin Trevorrow was going to do was going to be anything amazing. Like, it wasn't going to be Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi, New Hope, or even Revenge of the Sith. But it would have done something that had those risks. And I think those risks that the movie wanted to do would have been really neat. Like, I don't know if anyone read or heard what they wanted to do with Colin Trevorrow's Star Wars, but it just felt like it would have been a much better conclusion. And I think it would have been definitely more groundbreaking than Rise of Skywalker. Like the things they wanted to do with Kylo Ren that I heard, to the point where apparently like he blinds Rey in the original third act of that movie. Like, they wouldn't have been calling Rey a Mary Sue anymore. But there was one of those creative disagreements with Colin Trevorrow. He left. They had J.J. Abrams come in. And ultimately, that's the movie we got. And it just feels like they're scared to take risks and don't know what to do. Yeah, if the movie next year doesn't do well, Disney needs to put the series on ice. I hope it does well. I do. I like Sean Levy. I like his movies. I like Ryan Gosling as an actor. I like Amy Adams. She's also going to be in the movie. But if that movie doesn't do well, Star Wars, I don't know what Star Wars is going to do next. Red is calling for the arrest of Kathleen Kennedy and Kevin Feige for their crimes against cinema. They are the both of them are single-handedly responsible for movie tickets costing over $20 per ticket now. Oh my goodness. Red, you need to go to a Phantom Menace stream and like call for their arrest and see if like Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers, Doomcock, anyone else agrees with you. Like just go into streams and call for the arrests of Kathleen Kennedy and Kevin Feige. Oh, we called him Fevin Feige. I missed that part. Yeah, I agree with that as well, Blinded. Well, I'm gonna look up and see when Star Wars Starfighter comes out. So it comes out May 28th, 2027. I'm gonna look at a calendar for next year real quick. I'm just looking. Okay, so that would be Memorial Day weekend. Okay, I'm gonna also throw this out there because I don't even think what I'm about to say is also just a Star Wars issue. It's a cinema issue. Oh, CJH! I'd rather see the rest of Phantom Menace channels. Oh my goodness. Do it one day. But so I'll say this because it looks like Star Wars Starfighter, like Mandalorian Grogu, is going to come out Memorial Day weekend. I don't think Memorial Day weekend is really that strong of a weekend for movies overall in general. Because last year, Mission Impossible: Final Reckoning came out, and it didn't do that well. I mean, granted, it wasn't that great of a movie. Like I enjoyed it, but it definitely wasn't the best Mission Impossible movie, at least compared to the four that came before it. But you would think maybe that could have done well, but it didn't do well, and that came out Memorial Day weekend. Um, I think Furiosa also came out Memorial Day weekend, and that didn't do well either. So I really don't think Memorial Day weekend's that great of a weekend for new movies anymore. It's just not. I don't think it's a strong weekend. I think I think Top Gun Maverick might came out that weekend. I think that was the exception, but let's be real here. A lot of these movies aren't that good as Top Gun Maverick. I mean, I would do what CGH recommends, but who knows if they will. I mean, here's the thing: if it comes out the beginning of May, you have the whole month of May to dominate at the box office. I think Solo also came out Memorial Day weekend and it didn't do that well. Now, and I know people will make the excuse and say, well, it also came out months after Last Jedi and people were still fuming and foaming at the mouth over Last Jedi. And it also came out the week after Deadpool 2, a few weeks after Avengers Infinity War. But yeah, Mandalorian don't have that excuse. It doesn't. I mean, what was its competition? Devil Wears Prada 2 and some horror movies that are basically the first movies directed by YouTubers. What if they're sabotaging the male lead Let's Star movies? I put the Phantom Menace cap on. Oh my goodness. All right, let's get back to this. By the way, I had no idea Backrooms was directed by a 20-year-old. So, directed by 20-year-old Kane Parsons, Backrooms has earned 118 million globally so far. The psychological thriller has obliterated projections with early tracking suggesting a $40 million to $50 million domestic debt. With a production of roughly 10 million, it's already one of the most profitable movies of the year. And while a sequel has not been mentioned, Parsons has already started toying with the during Backrooms into a film franchise. I don't think it needs to be a film franchise. I mean, I haven't seen it yet, but not everything has to be a film franchise. I don't know. According to Blinded, it wasn't anything special, so I doubt it needs to be a film franchise. Some things are just best left done. It's very rare for horror sequels to be as good as the original. So Backrooms has also hit several box office benchmarks. It's delivered the largest opening weekend ever for A24, crushing the record set by Alex Garland's 2024 thriller Civil War with $25.5 million. It's also ranked as the biggest step in history for original horror, as well as the best start for a first-time filmmaker on a non-franchise film. Parsons is the youngest director by far to have the number one film at the box office. The benchmark was previously held by Josh Trank, who was 27 when 2012's Chronicle opened in first place with 22 million. Man, Josh Trank had a really big downfall. Like, Chronicle was a very good movie, but then his downfall with Phantom Force Stick. That's another story for another time. But based on Parsons' hit web series, Backroom follows a furniture store owner, Chiwetel Ejiofor, sorry if I mispronounced that, and finds a secret doorway that leads him to a seemingly endless stretch of nondescript rooms. When he disappears, his therapist, Renee Nassim, ventures into the unknown to rescue him. Sorry if I mispronounced that name. Nearly 85% of audiences were under the age of 35, and more than 50% were 25 or younger, according to post-track data. Parsons and Barker are part of a wave of YouTubers who have turned their talents to the big screen and brought their enormous youthful fan bases along with them. Earlier this year, YouTube creator Mark Fishback directed, self-financed, and distributed the horror film Iron Lung, which earned a stellar $50 million against a $3 million budget. I bet that was probably better than Stuckman's movie. All right, that's fair enough. To be honest, why are the male-led Star Wars movies put in May and then the female ones in December? Oh, that's a good point. Because Rogue One was also female-led, and that was in December. Backrooms had a bunch of lore. It's lore from his YouTube series. In my opinion, it's kind of interesting, but I don't know how you can explore that in a sequel. All right. Yeah, I don't know. Whether or not this is ushering in a new era or a paradigm shift for the business remains to be seen, but this YouTube creator to big screen pathway should be viewed as complementary. Sitcom scores head of marketplace trends. Paul, I'll just say Paul, I don't want to pronounce that last name. It's a production pipeline that has not existed until now. What's all more impressive is that Backrooms and Obsession aren't cannibalizing each other at the box office. In fact, Obsession rose 10% from the prior weekend, which was already up a stunning 39 from its solid $17 million debt. And it's defined box office norms as the first film since E.T. in 1982 to see ticket sales increase in its second and third weekends outside the holiday season, according to Focus. After 3 weekends of release, Obsession has grossed $106 million domestically and $148 million worldwide against a mere $1 million production budget. It's already the highest grossing domestic release, Focus being the tally of 2019's Downtown Alley with $96.8 million in North America. Blumhouse Atomic Monster has the number 1, number 2 movies in the country this weekend, both made for almost no money. Theaters are packed. Producer Jason Blum wrote on Twitter, "What a time to be making scary movies." Meanwhile, Mandalorian Grogu tumbled to third place with just $25 million from 4,300 venues in his sophomore outing. Such a catastrophic decline signals the force didn't remain strong during the franchise's 7-year absence from the big screen. Though insiders at the company were aware, the Mandalorian Grogu could pose a challenge as the continuation of a Disney Plus series. So far, the Star Wars installment has generated $137.4 million domestically and $246.6 million globally. And it's found money in the eyes of cinematic operators who knew Disney could have dropped the Mandalorian Grogu on its streaming service. For the studio, which produced the space opera spinoff for $165 million, movie theaters represent another venue stream before the movie lands on Disney Plus, not to mention the hordes of Grogu toy sales. This doesn't sound promising, and let's be real here. They've had over 6 years to buy Grogu toys. I don't know if toy sales can save this one. Hollywood is stupid, so they will try to adapt creepypastas as movies. Oh, good lord, could you imagine? I should watch Dan Morrell's video on Mano's box office. He points out how the trades are covering for Disney Plus. The thing is, okay, here's the thing. First of all, if they could have just released this on Disney Plus if they felt Disney Plus could have saved it. Second of all, using the excuse that because it's a Disney Plus spin-off show ain't that great. Because let's be real here. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, yeah, you probably should have seen WandaVision before watching the movie, but still, that movie made over 900 million. I mean, I know it came out after Spider-Man No Way Home, but still, the excuse of it being a spin-off off a streaming show, I don't know. They keep mentioning toy sales and how it'll drive viewership for Disney Plus. Here's the thing, though. A lot of people that saw Mandalorian Grogu, they had already seen at least the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian. Yeah, toy sales might do fine, but for what? Maybe just Grogu? Are toy sales for other characters going to do well? Maybe Mando action figures will do well, but if they make any toys of Rada the Hutt, they ain't going to do well. Like, Rada the Hutt action figure is going to do well, or plushies? Are any of the other characters that they're going to have toys? Yeah, like Disney controlling the trades and trying to get people to think it's not a flaw. But here's the thing: Disney technically did have its own victory with Devil Wears Prada too. I mean, I'm surprised they don't brag about the fact that Devil Wears Prada 2 did pretty well. Yeah, how many more Baby Yodas can you sell? Because first of all, here's the reality: Baby Yoda's design hasn't changed. Baby Yoda's outfit has not changed. His clothing hasn't changed. So it's like, in reality, you're just selling the same thing that you were selling back in 2020, 2021. The only difference is that the box that Baby Yoda's in, or the tag that he has on his plushie, is now just says the Mandalorian Grogu on it. Like, how much more can you sell at that? Meanwhile, the company is hoping that next summer's Star Wars Starfighter, an original adventure directed by Sean Levy and starring Ryan Gosling, serves as a fresh start for the franchise. If that's the case, they should have just focused on that instead of doing this. If they want a fresh start, see, if they think Starfighter is the fresh start, that should have been the first movie to come out after Rise of Skywalker. Like, they should have done that. What they should have done is said, let's save this thing that we have for Mandalorian Grogu and either delay it and expand on it to make it more suited for a movie, or just use it for like a season 4 of Mandalorian and focus in on Starfighter. Because here's the thing, let's just say Starfighter is a great movie, but people don't see it. You're saying Star Wars back. This would have probably been a better thing to go with. See, that line just frustrates me. Because if you think this would have given given a fresh start, this should have been the first movie to come out. They should have focused more on this. So weekend 2 had to be big, but Mandalorian Grogu just crashed and burned, says Bach. It's more of a reception of this film than the larger Star Wars universe. And here's the thing. People aren't even talking about this movie the way they were talking about other Star Wars movies. Whether it's positively and a ton of fan theories like Force Awakens and Rogue One, or negatively like Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, it's not even being talked about that much. It's kind of like, oh, Star Wars happened. Oh, it happened. It did. People don't want to admit it, because here's the thing, and I was mentioning this before. The reality is that there's a lot more people that are tuned out of Star Wars that are not just Fandom Menace people. Because here's the thing. They use the excuse that if you're part of the Fandom Menace, if you're part of the anti-SJW crowd, if you're the part of that crowd that complains about identity politics and movies being woke, like, they're the real problem. No. Star Wars fans that are not part of that. Star Wars fans that are open to diversity in their Star Wars, that don't care about wokeness or identity politics. Star Wars fans, normal Star Wars fans, they are tuned out now. And there's a lot of them. And yeah, you've got some Star Wars fans that just enjoy anything Star Wars, but the reality is that they are tuned out. Yeah, CJH, that's a good point. They're not even really Phantom Menace anymore. They're just like they're right wing movie talk. They're MAGA, or I would say far right movie talk. Oh, oh yeah, man. So Mando was made to drive people to Disneyland. Mando ride. Like here's the thing. I've gone to Disneyland and Disney World. I've gone to the galaxy's edges in both Disneyland in California and Disney World in Florida, and they're packed. They're packed. Those rides do get a rise. The Rise of the Resistance usually has long lines. The first time I went back in 2022, granted it was after COVID, so everyone was trying to go back to parks. I waited a while to go on Rise of the Resistance. Galaxy's Edge was packed. Yeah, I know Hollywood. I know that's the Hollywood Reporter. You don't need this movie to drive people in. All movies and shows from the beginning of movies and shows have always had political messaging. That's a good point. Like all these people that are complaining about it, I'll never understand. But the point I'm trying to make by saying all that is that there's a lot more fans that are tuned out than Disney wants to admit. They're tuned out. The reality is that there are people that weren't invested into talking about that kind of stuff that were tuned out of Last Jedi. Like I know people that like they are far from being right wing. They are more left wing that do not like Last Jedi. I have a friend that from college that is he was a full on socialist. I don't know if he still is. I haven't talked to him in quite some time, but he was full on socialist progressive and he hated Last Jedi. Disney is also trying so hard to cater to an audience that doesn't care. That's the thing. They don't know who they want to be their audience because at this point, if I'm going to be honest, a lot of kids these days just aren't invested into Star Wars. They aren't. I hate to say this because I'm not a big fan of them anymore. But I remember back in I think it was 2018, Midnight's Edge. I think it was Andre from Midnight's Edge. He brought up a good point that around that time, and this is before they turned on Marvel, back in the late 2010s, more kids were invested into Marvel than Star Wars. And even though, yeah, Marvel has also taken a dip down, it seems like kids are still more invested into Marvel than Star Wars. Because you can make the case that Marvel has still had more box office wins than Mandalorian and Grogu have had. Even some of the Marvel movies that have flopped, I think even Thunderbolts and Captain America Brave New World, they're going to land up with a bigger box office than Mandalorian and Grogu. I know Fantastic Four definitely will. Spider-Man Brand New Day and Avengers Doomsday are going to make $1 billion this year. That's basically guaranteed. Doesn't matter how well received those movies are. They're going to make $1 billion. But again, it just seems like if there's a franchise that Disney has that general audiences see more invested into, even if they're not as invested as they were a decade ago, people still are more invested into Marvel than Star Wars. That I feel like that's the case. I mean, here's the thing: people around my age or younger that I work with, they're more invested into Marvel and superhero movies overall than they are Star Wars. I know people from work that are more invested into the new DC that just started, that only has 2 shows in the Superman movie. They're more invested into the new DC than they are anything Star Wars. That's basically the reality. And now they're more invested into original content, whether it be original horror movies like Obsession, like Weapons, like Sinners, like Backrooms. Because if it's good, they want to spend their money on that. Here's the reality. Ticket prices are not getting any cheaper. They're going to become more money. And people, the thing is, people want to spend their money on good products. They want to spend their, if you're going to go to the theater, you want to see a good product. Now, I'll see anything in the theater. I got the money too. It's not, it doesn't hurt me financially to go see a lot of movies. I've been seeing more movies each and every year. And my friend Sal just jumped in. Hey, Sal. And Sal says, watching whatever he watches on streaming, and he never saw a single commercial ad for Mando and Grogu. He's seen a lot for Supergirl. Yeah, Supergirl's got more market. I don't know how well Supergirl's going to do in the box office because it's coming out in between so much other stuff and right after Toy Story 5. But they are marketing the heck out of Supergirl. Star Wars needs to take some notes from Marvel, more character-focused movies, overarching villains. That's what they really need to do. They really need to do it. And here's the thing. This is where I give Marvel credit. The last 3 out of 4 MCU movies, Deadpool and Wolverine, Thunderbolts, and Fantastic Four, the first steps, it felt like they fixed what their problems were. Now, they're not perfect movies, but they fixed what the problems that they were having were. And you can still make the case that Phase 4 and 5 still has more positives in it than Disney Star Wars does. Like that's just the reality. Even Marvel, as they in their struggle, their rebuild and retooling struggle, are still producing stuff that more people are watching and enjoying than what Disney Star Wars has. Like you can make people can make a case that with the exception of Andor and Mandalorian, with the exception of those shows, nothing else show wise except maybe the animated stuff. I've heard some great things about Maul. I gotta see Maul. But even then, it's like Disney's still kind of beating out Star Wars, even when they're not making good shows. Their shows are probably still more watched just because people want to understand the continuity better. Yeah, younger generations. The thing is, you bring up a good point, Blinded. They keep bouncing around different eras. So one show will be between episodes 3 and 4. One show will be between episodes 6 and 7. So Mandalorian Grogu is taking place after Return of the Jedi, before Force Awakens, when the new Republic is being built up. They're tracking down what's left of the Empire. But that confusion's still going to happen because Star Wars Starfighter is supposed to take place 5 years after Rise of Skywalker. So it's taking place in this post Skywalker era. I like watching movies that get re-released. I do like watching movies that get re-released. I watched last year quite a few movies that got re-released. I saw Jaws. And by the way, I also watched Jaws back in 2022 when it got re-released in theaters and IMAX. I watched Revenge of the Sith. I watched Kevin Smith's Dogma when that got re-released. Back in 2024, I watched Spider-Man 2 when it got re-released. I watched in 2023 the old Alfred Hitchcock movie Vertigo when that was like re-released in my nearby Alamo Drafthouse. I like watching old movies at the Alamo. That much I will say. I don't know. It wouldn't make $1 billion, but if you have a good Darth Maul story, because I think Darth Maul does have a big enough fan base, I think Maul could be somewhat successful. Remember when Sam Witter made Saber was destroyed? Yeah, that's another thing. It's like I don't know. Disney's continuity with Star Wars can get confusing. Yeah, they should do the reboot button. I feel it could bring Star Wars back into the discussion. And okay, wait, see what Blinded says. But this is gonna do worse than Solo. Like everyone used to make such a big deal about how bad Solo bombed. This is doing worse than Solo. They can't escape the past characters, so they may as well put a new creative spin on old characters. I mean, they might have to. Here's the thing: they should not be afraid to recast the rest of these characters. I mean, look, you recasted Han Solo, and honestly, I did like the guy that played Han Solo in Solo Star Wars story. I had no problem with him. But I think if you want to keep this franchise fresh, if you're so desperate to move away from the sequel trilogy and maybe do something that is better, or maybe do like adventures in between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens, you're gonna have to probably recast these characters. Reboot Star Wars without Kathleen Kennedy, John Favoritism, Kevin Felgeek, Dave Falatio, and Victoria Alonso. They can recast the OT characters, but they aren't the same version as the OT characters. Maybe people might be curious or forgiving. I heard New Hope is getting an anime remake, so how would you feel if the live action movies just get remade as animation? I mean, well, here's the thing. I know they did that with Netflix did that with Scott Pilgrim, but the difference was they brought back, I think, most, if not the entire cast of Scott Pilgrim to do that. I never saw it, so I don't know like if there was any big significant difference. So it'll have to probably depend, unless they can add new stuff in there as well if they want to. If they want to add new stuff to the anime remake, we'll see. Yeah. They did that with so as I said before. I don't know if you were watching when I said it. I think the issue with Solo was that it just came out at the wrong time. Like it wasn't the best story ever, but I don't think it was that. Even though, to be fair, Phil Lord and Chris Miller started that project. They had created differences. They got pushed down. Ron Howard had to finish the movie. Yeah, it's like, weren't we supposed to get a James Mangold era Star Wars movie? Like not one. I mean, a James Mangold Old Republic directed movie, like him directing a Old Republic movie. Just never happened. It got announced and never happened. They just used the movie audio. Yeah, like a Breath of the Wild kind of reboot could work. But I feel like a remix to the original. Here's also the reality. Because as I said, there are a lot of Star Wars fans that still do not accept the prequels. That are pure original trilogy people. I think the reality is that you're just gonna have to do this kind of risk and just tune out the backlash, because this is gonna get backlash either way. Whatever Star Wars does, they're gonna get some kind of backlash. They're just gonna get backlash. We were supposed to get a remake, but we're getting all right. But that was basically what was. Regardless, you're not gonna please everyone, and I think Lucasfilm needs to realize that. They're gonna have to realize that you're not gonna impress everyone. Star Wars should go on a hiatus. But here's the thing: Disney, and we're gonna soon transition into Toy Story 5 and how that box office is gonna look. Disney needs money badly, but they've got so many franchises that they can make a lot of money off of. Like, they're going to make a lot of money off of Doomsday. They're going to make a lot of money off of Marvel merchandise. Toy Story's coming out. They can make a lot of money off of Toy Story. Even though I think it's going to be bad, I think that Moana live action remake, they're going to make a ton of money off of that. They're going to make a lot of money off of Toy Story merchandise, off Moana merchandise. So it's like, you really don't need Star Wars at the moment. Just leave it be. What's happening? Star Wars Eclipse supposed to be a Star Wars. I don't know. I haven't even heard anything about that either. Let me see if there's anything worth mentioning as well. We don't need to really talk about Breadwinner, Sony's. All right, so we're talking about like the upcoming movies. So, Scary Movie, the sixth one, where the Wayman brothers are coming back. No creepy Harvey Weinstein involved, because we all know that story that the Weinsteins pushed the Wayman brothers out. They ruined the Scary Movie franchise. But we know what happened with Harvey Weinstein, and the Waymans are back. So we're getting Scary Movie 6 this weekend. They didn't mention it, but I know Masters of the Universe is coming out this weekend. But then the following weekend, we got Steven Spielberg's Disclosure Day, Toy Story 5, June 15th, Supergirl, June 26th, Minions and Monsters, July 1st, the Moana remake, July 10th, Odyssey from Nolan on July 17th, and Spider-Man Brand New Day, July 31st. So we've got a really good stretch happening with movies. Not all these are going to do that well, probably. But I'm expecting at the very least Toy Story 5 and Spider-Man Brand New Day will make $1 billion. I expect that's going to happen. Oh, wow. Either it's 2030 or not. We do have a Clone Wars movie. It was Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Oh, my goodness. Like, here's the thing. They've told so many stories about the Clone Wars. What could you tell with a Clone Wars movie? Yeah, a movie before Phantom Menace, I could see. I mean, we've only got 2 movies between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, Solo, and Rogue One. I think Obi-Wan was supposed to be a movie that takes place between, but then it got turned into a show when Solo bombed. See, that's another thing. Because of how badly Solo bombed, that also played a role in a lot of movies getting canceled and them kind of holding back on making movies. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for Supergirl. I think it's going to be good, but I don't know about the box office yet. Yeah, the back and forth era needs to stop. But you're talking about live action. But that's what I mean. What kind of story can you tell involving the Clone Wars that hasn't been told yet that would be a good live action movie? Also, people, like, here's the thing. If they want to see a live action Clone Wars movie, they're going to want Hayden Christensen and Ian McGregor to come back. And Ian McGregor's in his mid-50s at this point. Hayden Christensen, he's either still in his early 40s, approaching mid-40s. So it's like, do they want to? Are they gonna like want to do a movie de-aged where they're playing 20, like the characters that they played 20 years ago? Like, I know they did it for the shows, but would they do it for like a full-on movie? Because that's the only reason this would really work, I think, for the fans. So, movie going's hot. Backrooms and Obsession are electrifying the market and sensational, says Gross, but the industry needs the big summer productions and franchises to deliver. Woody, Odyssey, and Peter Parker, the industry is looking to you. And we will actually go into Toy Story next. I think we spent enough time dwelling on Star Wars. Um, so yeah. So probably gonna not focus a whole lot on Toy Story because not a huge amount to say, but I do know that Toy Story 5 is projected to do very well at the box office. Let me see what Toy Story 5's box office is. For a franchise that a lot of people, and I'm guilty of this as well, have said they need to stop. They should have stopped at 3. Although I like Toy Story 4. It's not my favorite Toy Story movie, but I like it. I do enjoy it. So let's. I don't think Odyssey is going to make close to $1 billion. I think Odyssey will do well, but it's not going to make close to $1 billion. I'm looking forward to it. But you know, a lot of people, even though I have no problem with Nolan casting Lupita Nyong'o as Helen of Troy, a lot of people are moaning and complaining about that. But to be fair, I really don't know. Like, do they really just do they even care about Odyssey, or are they doing it to score their social political points? Yo, yeah, I know it's gonna be 7 years since Toy Story 4. Like, that movie came out a month after I graduated college, like a few weeks after I graduated college. So it's been 7 years since I graduated college. See, here's the thing. I always preferred my toys over technology. Like, yeah, I played my video games when I was a kid, but I prefer my toys over video games. I prefer my toys over the computer. I didn't become an official computer kid until I was a teenager. And if I used the computer, I used it to play the disc games, like games that I had for my PC, like Roller Coaster Tycoon. And even then, my mom put a limit onto how long I can play games on the computer. Especially because, like, we were sharing a computer, me, my mom, my sister. And I know my sister likes playing the computer games as well. You know what? Like, should I make my prediction for Toy Story 5? I have a feeling in Toy Story 5, I'm probably going to be wrong on this. I think Bonnie will probably donate her toys to a kid that still likes toys. I don't think it's going to. I think everyone's expecting it to end where Bonnie throws away the device and keeps her toys. I don't think it's going to be that kind of ending. The thing is, when it comes to the Toy Story endings, like Toy Story 3 and Toy Story 4, they end in ways where it's like they end in ways where it's like, I don't want to call it a bittersweet ending, because on one hand, it's a happy ending, but it's also a sad ending. So in Toy Story 3, when Andy gives his toys to Bonnie, it's a happy and sad ending, because on one hand, it's a happy ending that the toys got a new owner that likes to play with them, that's having fun with them. They're no longer going to be in the attic waiting for the day Andy decides to have kids and pass his toys on to his kids. Like, they're going to get played with more. But it's sad because, you know, Andy loves his toys, and the toys love Andy. And, you know, it was sad when Woody decided, you know what, I'm going to stick with my friends. I'm going to be Bonnie's toy. When he could have just gone off to college with Andy. Woody was going to be the only toy that Andy was going to take with him to college. Andy was reluctant at first to give Woody to Bonnie. Oh my goodness, a redeem set. Oh my good. I'm gonna bring this up actually. I feel like, with the exception of Buzz briefly mentioning Sid in Toy Story 2, it seems like a lot of the villains have not gotten mentioned in other sequels. Prospector, I don't think, was ever mentioned in Toy Story 3 and 4. Lotso was not mentioned in Toy Story 4. Sid wasn't mentioned in Toy Story 3 or 4 either. Now, there is the fan theory, and I think this is true, that one of the garbage men in Toy Story 3, because I guess he had like the skull shirt on that Sid wears, could be Sid grown up, which I think would be an interesting theory. And it looks like Sid has gotten at least some kind of help after he had been traumatized. I mean, we can hope. I hope Odyssey makes more money than the live action Moana at the very least. I didn't see the live on seeing it. I don't like that they're remaking movies that came out in the 2000s and over. Yeah, I'm aware of that. I know they got someone else to do the voice for Mr. Potato Head. Okay, that's what I thought. Because, also the guy that did Slinky's voice for the first two movies passed away. And the guy that Arlie the guy that plays Sarge, Arlie Ermy also passed away. So, but I still see Toy Story movies because I love Toy Story. And I like Toy Story 4. I didn't even have a problem with Lightyear. Well, yeah, Lightyear wasn't that great, but I thought Lightyear was enjoyable. I just in denial. I just feel like what they make isn't really that good. Like the one live action remake that I will say was okay. There's a few live action remakes or live action attempts from Disney that I really did enjoy. I really liked Jon Favreau's Jungle Book. I really enjoyed Jungle Book. I liked Christopher Robin, the where Christopher Robin's all grown up, played by Ian McGregor. I really enjoyed that one. I thought that was a very good movie. I liked Cruella. Now, I might have a bias because Cruella was like the third movie that I saw post COVID in the theaters. It was like I saw Tenet, and then I saw Ray and the Last Dragon, and then Cruella because not a lot was coming out. But I liked Cruella. I thought Cruella had a really interesting plot and premise. I'm gonna be honest. This might be an unpopular opinion. I did enjoy the 2019 Aladdin. I know a lot of people don't. I actually did like the 2019 Aladdin. It's nowhere near as good as the animated one, but I enjoyed it for what it was. I think Will Smith, while he wasn't as good as Robin Williams, I thought he was still very good as the genie. Well, here's another thing. We can also make the case that there's a lot of movies from the 50s that also got remade. I mean, The Fly from 1986, everyone says The Fly is very good, but that's technically a remake off a movie from the 50s. Ocean's 11, the 2001 one with Brad Pitt, George Clooney, very good movie. That's technically a remake as well. So, I mean, here's the thing. I just feel like anime movies don't need to be remade into live action. Unless you're doing something different. Like Cruella, because it's like a prequel origin story to Cruella, it's doing something different. I think that's why, even though I don't love it, I respect Maleficent, because Maleficent was like its own different take on Maleficent with familiar plot points from Sleeping Beauty, but also with its own twists and turns. Now, I don't love Maleficent. I don't think it's a great movie, but I respect Maleficent because at least it did take that risk. And despite having a few familiar plot points, also twisting the story around and doing different things. Here's the thing. I'll be honest, I wouldn't mind this because I feel like with animation you can do more creative stuff. Now, let's see. Let's get to Toy Story. I think I'll probably go like 30 more minutes and then end the stream. I don't want to make this too much of a long one. The return of Woody, Buzz, and the Playroom Gang is heading for big box office numbers according to Deadline. Toy Story 5 is projected to score a U.S. opening total 150 million when it debs in theaters on Friday, June 19th. And it is ranked the most anticipated movie of the summer by Fandango's 2025 trends. That's not a surprise. I think the only movie coming out this summer that I can see being more anticipated than this was probably going to be Spider-Man: Brand New Day. But I'm not surprised by that because again, we all love Toy Story, even though a lot of us like to say it should have ended at this point and this point, but we can't resist Woody, Buzz, and these characters. I mean, yeah, it does feel like that at times, CJH. So, if predictions come true, Toy Story 5 will be the first. It'll be the film franchise's biggest domestic debut since Toy Story 4, which was released pre-COVID in 2019, and will overtake the Super Mario Galaxy movie, which had a 131.7 million in depth over 3 days as the biggest opening of 2026 to date. I don't even think Super Mario Galaxy crossed the billion. I don't think it did. I'll double check real quick, but I don't think it did. Let's see. Oh, it's made 992 million. It was close. It was close. I don't think it's gonna reach that because it's coming out on direct to video. I think it's probably gonna come out on DVD soon as well and be on streaming soon. But that's still good. 992 million. That's not really that big of a drop off for a sequel. oh, Degrassi. I didn't know you like A Bug's Life. Bug's Life is such an underrated movie. That was a very underrated movie. It's not the best Pixar, but it's a very underrated movie. So, a great deal of Toy Story 5's pull is the strong track record and broad fan base for the 31-year-old Pixar franchise. It's polling as the first choice for women and men under 25, with overall first choice ratings in all quadrants, surpassing those of Toy Story 4 and Inside Out 2. Both these movies made $1 billion worldwide. So I think Toy Story 5 is it'll probably be the first $1 billion movie of 2026. Unless Super Mario Galaxy and whatever theaters it's still playing in does a miracle run to get to $1 billion, it looks like Toy Story 5 is going to be the first $1 billion movie of the year. Now, Disney Pixar still holds the record for biggest domestic box office opening with Incredibles 2, which pulled $182 million in its debut weekend and currently ranks 8th on the all-time global highest grossing animated picks. Number 7, excluding the photoreal Lion King remake. I don't like that remake is included in that, but whatever. Disney and Pixar hold 8 of the top 10 spots for MPA anime feature titles, led by last year's Zootopia 2, which grossed $1.8 billion. Chinese blockbuster Niza 2 from last year tops overall with $2.2 billion. Wow, that's interesting. So Toy Story 5 is directed by Academy Award winner Andrew Sandin, who directed WALL-E, Finding Nemo, and Finding Dory. I think that's more reassuring that it's directed by someone familiar with Pixar, the guy that gave us Finding Nemo and WALL-E. And look, I know not everyone loves Finding Dory, but I enjoy Finding Dory. It was a fun sequel, not a great sequel. I think people, it feels like Pixar sequels need to be great, otherwise they stink. It's like we can't have just good sequels. Like I thought Monsters University was good for a prequel. I think it's very underrated. I like Finding Dory. I like Toy Story 4. I like Incredibles 2. I think the only sequel I didn't see Cars 3. Need to watch that one day. The only Pixar sequel I really do not care for and do not like is Cars 2. That was just horrible. And I like the first Cars. I will defend the first Cars movie. Lucasfilm, Marvel, and Pixar creatively bankrupt was the common denominator. They're all Marvel. They're all Disney. They're all Disney companies. The new guy has no power. Pick did as long as Bob Iger holds an executive board seat. Yeah, Bob Iger is like a control freak. I remember when people used to gripe about Michael Eisner. It's like I think Bob Iger is worse. I think he's worse. Definitely a control freak. I feel like the only thing I will give Michael Eisner crap for is Michael Eisner had these big ideas for the parks, and they never came into fruition. They never happened. Like I'll say this, under Bob Iger, they've made more progress at the parks, but it's like the park prices have just gone crazy up under Eisner. They're just too crazy at this point. But anyways, that's the only thing I'll give Michael Eisner crap for is that he had these bold ideas for the parks, but they just never happened. So it's produced by Lindsay Collins, who produced Turning Red, Wally Find Dory, and Randy Newman is going to be doing the score once again. Thank goodness. The toys are back in Toy Story 5, and this time it's Toys Meet Tech. Woody, Buzz, Jesse, and the rest of the gang's jobs are challenged when they come face to face with Lily Pad, a brand new tablet device that arrives with her own disruptive ideas about what is best for their kid, Bonnie. Will playtime ever be the same? I'm not going to show a trailer. I don't want copyright. And Tom Hanks has hinted. Hold on. They'd be like, you know what? They should. Here's the thing. Get another Eisner. Just don't have him overstay his welcome. That's the thing. These CEOs, they overstay their welcome. These presidents, these CEOs, they overstay their welcome, and then they don't want to give up power. They don't want to give up power. So let me find. Just closing out a few stuff right now. So Tom Hanks is already hinting that Toy Story 5 has the franchise's most heartbreaking scenes in the franchise. And we're talking about the same franchise that gave us Toy Story 3. That gave us all these heartbreaking scenes where we're seeing Andy's grown up. We see how Lotso was abandoned. The Woody and the gang almost dying. Andy giving his toys away. Woody saying his goodbyes when he thought he was staying with Andy and the toys were going up in the attic. I mean, Toy Story 4, you had obviously Buzz giving Woody the okay to stay with Bo Peep and Woody saying his goodbyes to everyone. The opening scene where Woody and Bo Peep are parting ways. Even Toy Story 2, when you had that montage with Jesse, the When Somebody Loves Me song, that is still one of the most emotional moments in an animated movie. That kind, like, and they're saying this movie's gonna have emotional moments more emotional than that. Hey, listen, that's what Toy Story's strong suit is. Toy Story is so good at giving great humor, but also emotional moments that even gets the adults emotional. I remember when I saw Toy Story 3 in theaters, I'll admit, as a 13-year-old, I was crying. The adults in my theater were crying. It was that emotional of a movie. And it sounds like Toy Story 5 is going to challenge that. So it has one of the most heartbreaking scenes the Pixar movie franchise has seen in its 30-year history. So let's see what Tom Hanks has to say. There's one of the most heartbreaking scenes I've ever seen in the Toy Story movies when that little girl is getting her feelings hurt by what other people are texting about her, and she doesn't understand why. Hank said she doesn't know what she did wrong, but it hurts, and it is a really present thing to have an emotional picture about little hurt kids in toys, don't you think? Okay, so that's like the scene that he's hinting at. I mean, it sounds like the movie's gonna be tackling that issue of cyberbullying, because technology, the thing with technology is cyberbullying is a very common thing. And it's also a very sad thing because, the here's the reality. Words hurt a lot, and I think this movie's going to be tackling on that. Toy Story movies do such a great job of tackling on any kind of issue. And besides, obviously, the idea of kids getting obsessed with technology, they're going to tackle, the hurtful things that technology, you can use with technology to say about someone. And they bring up right here, Toy Story 3 features more than a few tearful goodbyes. I had the best examples of sad moments. I mean, okay, so they're saying that fights against dry tears when Buzz has a realization that he's in fact toy. I never felt emotional about that. In fact, as much as I love the first Toy Story movie, you have to admit it gets a little annoying that when Buzz is so delusional, not realizing he's a toy. When he finally does, it's kind of like about damn time. I wasn't heartbroken when that happened. I really wasn't. For Hanks, Toy Story 5 might have the sass scene in the mall. Now, audience some waiting to see the new movie for themselves before ranking him on Pixar's best, but the actor said he has a special attachment to Woody and the gang. They always take me to some other emotional place I'm happy to go to and mad that they're going to make me do this. But Tim Allen and I have done this enough. When I saw the first scene where 500 Buzz Lightyears come out of the water, I just said, oh, Tim's going to have a field day on this one. Thank goodness he has to voice 500 of those things and I don't. I saw a picture of like Tom Hanks and Tim Allen and like how young they looked when the first movie came out. I think he was like in his early 40s and Tom Hanks was in his late 30s. And now I think Tom Hanks, I don't know if he already turned 70 yet, but I know he turned 70 this year. Tim Allen's already a few years older than 70. Tim Allen looks good for over 70. I'll say that. Not gonna lie, I honestly think Tim Allen looks better than Tom Hanks does. Oh, Blinded's giving us some breaking news. Clint Eastwood's officially retired from filmmaking. Man, that's sad to hear. I mean, I know Clint Eastwood's 96. He just turned 96 today, actually. It's Clint Eastwood's birthday. But honestly, I can't blame him. I mean, you're 96 years old. Oh, don't say that, Red. Look, I'm a big Clint Eastwood fan. I love Clint Eastwood movies. I love his Dollars trilogy. I love Gran Torino. I love Dirty Harry. That'll be a sad day when Clint Eastwood goes. Yeah, he turned 96. I mean, listen, if he was still directing movies at the age of 100, I'd just be like, dude, hang it up. Even if you're making good stuff, you deserve to relax. Oh, Blinded, don't say that. I'm not even going to share that. Oh my goodness. But I really think, though, that this movie's going to end in a way where Bonnie's no longer going to have the toys, but they're going to have a new kid. Now, that might also determine, could Woody still be a lost toy or go with them? I really don't know. Well, I know the director said something interesting about Woody, because I know for a lot of people, they were wondering when Toy Story 5 was announced and they saw Woody in the first teaser. It's like, so wait, Woody's no longer a lost toy? I think this will be the last thing I'll share before I end the stream. Are we going to see George make a movie? Don't let him, George. Oh, God. Okay, so here's the thing. I kind of have like some ideas of how I would do a movie, or at least do a movie screenplay. I need to get around and actually write them and see if they would even make for good ideas. I don't know if I can be a director. I wouldn't mind being a screenplay writer though. I mean, listen, last few summers I've taught a storytelling class. My students can tell a better story than Matt Jarbo will. That I will say. I will say that. K to fifth graders can tell better stories than the guy that thinks he knows better than people that make better movies than him. I don't know if I would be a good director, but I think I can write a good screenplay. No, Red. Jarbo was Al. He stole Woody. He stole Woody. Oh my goodness. Yo, listen, I love Blinded's endorsement for me to make a film. I really do. And like, I'm not saying I would make a great movie, but I'm not gonna act like it's the best thing since sliced bread. I saw Jarbo's movie. Blinded, you were with me when we watched Jarbo's movie. And after that movie, I was thinking in my head, did Jarbo really think that this would be the best thing? First of all, the main guy basically looks like a carbon copy of him. That's the thing I noticed also with Chris Stuckman. I think the guy that Chris Stuckman picked to play the main girl's husband, boyfriend, whatever, he looked like Chris Stuckman. There's just something about some of these YouTube filmmakers where they won't hire talent that looks just like them. See, that's not me. I'm just gonna hire who I think would be the best. Who I think would be the best actor. But hey, listen, there's some ideas that I would like to make at least stories. I don't know how well they would translate on film, but they would translate better than anything Matt Jarbo could make. And by the way, they will not require something that Jarbo was obsessed with that I'm not going to mention on stream. Because that's not going to be me. All right, let's get to this last thing with Toy Story 2. Toy Story 5. Darn it! Sorry for my rant, by the way, but as you can tell, I'm not a big fan of the $3 theater. So then we're gonna talk about why the director changed Woody in Toy Story 5. So Andrew Stanton talked all things Toy Story, from how Woody is aged to why new character Lily Pad isn't really a villain. Well, I guess we'll talk about that as well. He has a new purpose of not being devoted to one kid. He's out in the field and not worrying, Stanton said about Woody's new appearance, including having the bald spot and some weight gain. Okay, but here's the thing. The white spot, I guess the bald spot was starting to show, because remember in Toy Story 2, when the guy is fixing him up, he's repainting Woody's head. So it seemed like he was having a faded spot for quite some time. They may not have shown it in the movies, but I think the guy saw it. You also got to remember, Woody's an old toy. I think Andy's mom said in Toy Story 2 when she was telling Al why he can't buy the toy, or tell... I'm not going to make that joke. Why he didn't tell Al why he couldn't buy him was because he was an old family toy. So it's been around for a while. He also has some weight gain. The bald spot symbolizes he's just worn out from not trying to take care of himself so much more and more, just doing whatever dirty work needed to be done to save a toy. Well, here's the thing. If he's going into puddles or in the rain to save toys, I'm sure some of the toy paint's going to peel off. Yeah, that the movie crew wanted to make him instantly sun bleached, but that didn't make it. That would have looked weird. Tom Hanks also weighed in, saying you put a rubber hat on top of a rubber head again and again and again. Something's got to shave, he told Entertainment Weekly. So he does. Let's say a worn area on the back of his head. And Stan also touched on Lily Pad, a children's tablet that the rest of the toys face off against in the new movie. She's a villain to the toys because they're understandably intimidated. Which, you know what? This is a normal thing, because remember, Toy Story 1, Woody was intimidated by Buzz. She's just the next phase of Bonnie's life. She's built like a toy in the sense that she wants to help the kid go forward, but she's got very different skills and zero experience, whereas Jessie has nothing but experience, is probably unprepared for what to do. I mean, it sounds like a more antagonistic situation that Woody and Buzz had in Toy Story 1, but it's going to be Jessie and the lily pad. Although the difference is going to be where the other toys weren't threatened by Buzz, the other toys are threatened by lily pad. You continue, lots of people at the studio wanted to be a villain. It was hard to strike the balance because I think we all come in such loaded emotions toward devices. At the end of the day, it never made sense. We're not getting rid of these devices no matter how hard we try, which is unfortunately true. I don't like kids having devices personally. I, as someone that has experience working with kids, I think parents just use their devices to, keep their kids occupied. And the sad reality is not a lot of them care about spending time with their kids. For me, if I ever become a parent, that's not going to be the case. They ain't getting technology until they're like, I think, old enough, not that young. Like, my mentality is they will start playing video games the age I start playing, but they're also going to have the limitations that I had. At the end of the day, it never made sense. We're not getting. Okay, I already read that part. So it felt right for the toys to have to grapple with that nuance. Greta Lee, who voices Lily Pad, told Entertainment Weekly that her character channels a lot of fears and concerns about technology, especially when it comes to children. Playing her was extremely cathartic. And saying that so much power within my house has been a very complicated sense of consideration. I mean, the way I envision Lily Pad so far based on these trailers is like she seems antagonistic but not villainous. The thing is, it's these toys are going to grapple with reality, at least Andy's toys, that like Bonnie's growing up is going to be different from Andy's. With Andy, it seemed like he stopped playing with toys at like what was the normal age for a kid to stop playing with their toys, like between the ages of 12 to 13 or 11 and 13. Where Bonnie, it's earlier because technology has advanced. Technology wasn't like this when Andy was growing up. Andy is basically a 90s kid. He is the definition of a 90s kid. Bonnie is the definition of, because technically Bonnie's still a kid. Toy Story 3 came out in 2010, so it's representing Bonnie represents what was a 2010s kid, because these trends really started in the 2010s. It's just become more noticeable in the 2020s. Yeah, smartphones and tablets are killing things for real. I don't like it, and that's why if I'm ever a parent, my kid ain't gonna have this stuff when they're that young. I know this is movie time. I'm not talking about like parenting or like how to handle kids, but if I ever become a parent, they ain't gonna have these devices at that young of an age. First of all, my kids are gonna be playing outside. They're gonna be playing in the park, or they're gonna be playing in our backyard, yard or whatever. They're not playing with these devices. If it's nice outside, they're going outside to play. Because the reality is like what these kids do on the devices. What are they just watching? Videos on YouTube? I didn't start watching YouTube until I was like, what, 11, 12 years old, which again, that's the age that I assume Andy stopped playing with toys, which is usually a normal age that, kids stop playing with toys, or they're playing with toys less. And even then, I still had limitations as to how much I can go on the computer or watch YouTube. And the thing is, I think the stuff I was watching on YouTube was more so like movie reviews and video game walkthroughs, episodes of shows that I would watch before they got taken down. But I am curious about Toy Story 5. I think Toy Story 5 will probably be another good sequel. Um, for I can see it having some emotional moments. They're really hitting hard with like the "You Got a Friend in Me" song in the trailers. I can't wait to see the 100 buzzes. I think they're kind of using an idea that they have for Toy Story 3 with Buzz Lightyear dolls, like the original Toy Story 3 that they want to do. Here's the thing, I got a cell phone when I was 13 years old when I started doing school sports and more after school activities. I didn't get a smartphone until I was 17, 18 years old. Because in reality, I didn't even need the phone for that other stuff. I used my phone just to call people, just to call my mom, to call my friends. I mean, look, I knew how to type as well, but here's the thing, like, I wasn't using a tablet all the time. I was using the computer. And again, I had limitations on how much I can use the computer, and I accepted those limitations. Um, what was I gonna say before I saw that stuff? Darn, I lost my train of thought. Oh no, I was talking about the Buzz Lightyear. So I know, like, before Disney officially bought Pixar, Disney was gonna do sequels when their original Pixar deal was done for Toy Story, Bugs Life, Monsters Inc., Finding Nemo, The Incredibles, and Cars. They were gonna do sequels, but they were gonna be run by a different studio that they would make at Disney that would focus on the stuff that they did with Pixar. Is before they bought Pixar in 2006. And their original idea for Toy Story 3 was going to be something with like Buzz Lightyear dolls having the getting recalled. And I don't know if that's going to play a role. I don't think Buzz is going to get recalled in the movie, but it seems like maybe Buzz Lightyear dolls that may have gotten recalled or might not have gotten sold are going to play a big role in this movie. I'm curious to what they're going to do. You know, I like when studios kind of revisit old ideas and are like, hey, let's twist it around and use it for this movie. I like when movies do stuff like that. Uh, Anyways, I think I covered enough today. I didn't want to make too long of a stream, and I didn't realize I was going to talk about the Mandalorian stuff more than I thought I did. I think next week I can move on from talking about Mandalorian and Grogu and maybe talk about some other things. There's definitely going to be some reviews coming out. So just to look ahead, I don't know what movies I'm seeing this weekend. I might see 2 movies. I might see a movie on Saturday. I might see a movie on Thursday because I have Thursday off. I'm going to try to see at least Obsession. Saturday, it's either going to be Scary Movie or Masters of the Universe. Don't know yet. Yeah, rest in peace, Mando. Rest in peace, Kathleen Kennedy's legacy. I don't know what else to say about Mandalorian. But I just want to thank you all for watching. Thank you, Blinded, Red, CJH, Degrassi, and Sal for being active in the chat and offering your thoughts on all this stuff. I want to thank you guys for just watching this series, helping me get back into streaming, enjoying streaming again. As I said, there's going to be 2 more episodes coming up in the next 2 weekends. Then there's going to be a bit of a hiatus because I'm going to be going away. But July, we're back at it. We're going to be back at it. Maybe some spoiler streams based on some of the movies that are coming out. I mean, not every movie needs a spoiler stream. I don't know if I can share all the stuff that Red's saying. Thank you, Blinded. I can share Rip Disney. I mean, Disney's hit or miss sometimes. I still like Disney, though. Thanks, Red. But yeah, if you haven't already, please subscribe and like the stream. Please share this for anyone that might want to catch on replay thoughts on Mandalorian's box office and what may or may not happen with Toy Story 5 and its box office. And I hope to see you guys real soon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and take care, everyone.